After paying their mortgage for years, my sister showed up with a can of red paint to ruin my wedding. Now she's claiming my house is hers. They sued me. For the house I paid for. For the dog they abandoned. For hurting the family. But this time, the judge heard my voice. I was urged by my parents to spend the holidays at home. They left me to dogs it while they went on a lavish vacation without me after a 5-hour journey. I refrained from arguing. I simply grinned. However, they began to scream when they returned and witnessed this. Let's go back. I received the first text in early December. This year, will you be returning home? It would mean a lot to your dad and me, she continued. Then came the one that really got to me. Without you, the holidays aren't the same. I spent a lot of time staring at that one. It was the type of message I had been hoping for years, a statement I had practiced hearing so many times that I didn't even question it when it finally arrived in my inbox. I grinned. The work had been harsh. There weren't enough people on my team. My sleep routine had changed to include naps in between Zoom sessions. However, I reminded myself, they miss you. They asked for you. So I did what I don't often do. I took a break. I cleared 5 complete days, but it took a whole week of arguing with my manager, changing deadlines, and promising to check in just in case. I purchased a ticket. I even brought along a couple modest presents. I hoped we would actually converse, play board games, and laugh at corny holiday films. It was a lengthy and painful flight. Something that smelled like hot cheese-dipped feet was consumed by my seatmate. I didn't care though. The kind of foolish optimism that endures years of disregard and yet appears with a bow on its head was buzzing through me. With my suitcase in hand and a smile on my face, I got out of the Uber. At that moment, I witnessed my dad's car's trunk opening and 3 big suitcases being crammed inside. I had a fleeting feeling that they could surprise me. Perhaps we were traveling together. This might have been part of the idea. I was witnessing my holiday fantasy evaporate in real time, but then my mom saw me and waved happily. When she called, there she is. Just in time. I blinked. Just in time for what? She stated, the cruise, as though it were clear. We didn't want to leave Bentley alone. She pointed to the dog, who was standing behind the front door, watching me. I believed I had misheard. You're going on a cruise? My dad said, just a quick getaway. And slammed the trunk. We've had a stressful year. Josh, who was in the passenger seat, smiled at me. You'll be fine here. You love quiet. This is perfect for you. He said it as if I were a robot or a rice cooker, something made especially to work in silence. My mother gave me a folded list called Bentley's holiday routine while I stood there still holding my suitcase. It contained items such as, rub his ears clockwise, not counterclockwise, and lavender diffuser at 8 p.m. I said nothing at all. I simply grinned and nodded, as I always do when I'm trying not to cry. Already preoccupied, they gave me a quick embrace. I was reminded by my mother to keep Bentley from eating cheese. I was instructed to pick up a delivery that was supposed to happen on Wednesday by my dad. After that, they got into their vehicle and drove off. Nobody inquired about my flight experience. Nobody asked me to accompany them. Nobody even inquired about my meal. And suddenly I was by myself. At a home that I own. I haven't lived with a dog in years, but I officially adopted him since I couldn't refuse my younger brother's request. I secured the door. Bentley crouched at my feet, tail wagging unsurely as he padded over. Whispering, "Hi, buddy." I knelt down to stroke him. He had the stench of wet socks and dirty comforters. He appeared leaner than I remembered, and his fur was coarse. He had no water in his bowl. He had 2 long nails. And something twisted inside of me. I sat down on the couch, filled his drink, removed the food they had left, and gazed at the flickering Christmas lights as if they were about to rearrange themselves into an apology. However, nothing took place. There was silence in the house. The heat turned on. Bentley balled himself up. I had a strong belief that this year will be different. That perhaps they were at last prepared to see me as their daughter, not just as the one who sends the money when the car breaks down or the kitchen renovation goes over budget. Their sister. I was mistaken. I felt foolish for ever holding that belief. For always believing that they would eventually find me worthy of staying at home if I put in enough effort, achieved enough success, or proved myself helpful enough. Rather, they viewed me as an easy fix. Dog care is free. As well as integrated home security. On-time arrival of their own tiny robot. I made an effort to shake it off. That was what I had done all my life. Making justifications for them. Not personal, I told myself. Because it was simply difficult to love me. That perhaps if I made a few more changes, I tried not to cry as I rubbed my temples. The scent of candle wax and cinnamon filled the air. There were decorations all around me that I hadn't hung. They didn't thank me for paying off the house. Watching a dog that they no longer cared for as soon as the novelty wore off. What's the worst? I still desired a call from them. Even so, I wanted them to reverse the vehicle and say, "We're sorry. We didn't realize. We love you. Please come with us." However, they refused. They didn't. Bentley sighed quietly as he slept. After giving him a long look, I went to the kitchen and turned on my laptop. Really, I had no idea what I was looking for, but I was certain that I couldn't continue to act as though this was the norm. Since it wasn't. And perhaps, just possibly, I had had enough of waiting for someone else to notice. Bentley cuddled himself on the couch beside me, putting his weight on my leg as if it would help me stay attached. He smelled of old shoes and melancholy, and his fur was patchy and matted. I didn't mind though. The only one who hadn't gone was him. No one came out to say, "Surprise? We didn't actually abandon you, we were just kidding, we do love you." I continued to stare at the empty living room as if I was still expecting for someone to do so. I had no idea why it struck so forcefully. Perhaps because I had persuaded myself that I was more important than I actually was. That they would ultimately regard me as more than just the girl who paid for things if I simply continued to provide. Perhaps as someone they desired to be around. I always believed that they would let me in if I could simply correct whatever was wrong with me. Growing up, I assumed that. That something about me must be flawed. There was a missing component that caused folks to shrug rather than embrace. It was me who was strange. The silent one? The girl who color-coded her books, who enjoyed creating Excel spreadsheets, and who liked math problems more than makeup. When I was 10 years old, my mother half-jokingly remarked, "You weren't the easiest child to bond with." Everyone said that my brothers' taunting of me was simply an expression of their affection. They said I was overly sensitive when I sobbed. So I stopped crying. That also didn't help. On one of my birthdays, I believe I was 8 years old, they threw me a party. I was ecstatic. My brothers even claimed to have invited the kids from the neighborhood. I brought out cupcakes that I had prepared myself and donned my finest clothes. However, there were no individuals in the yard when I arrived. Just a sheet of paper with arithmetic problems and numbers on it taped to the fence. Josh had chuckled and said, "Your kind of party." After that, they all hurried to another person's house for the actual party. I spent hours sitting on the porch steps. Even the equations were solved by me. Perhaps it was the secret, I thought. Perhaps they would return if I figured them all out. They didn't. I believed that I could fit in better by high school. I made an effort to chuckle when appropriate. Despite the fact that the garments didn't feel like mine, I borrowed them from Dorothy. In order to avoid looking strange, I practiced smiling in front of the mirror and joined clubs that I didn't care about. I was still referred to as intense, aloof, and somewhat robotic. I once heard Dorothy say, "You're not ugly." I tried to learn how to act like a real girl, but you simply don't know how. Even so, I was the one who was overlooked for the invitation. The person who solely received thank you texts in response to Venmo requests. The person who was often told, "You're just really hard to get close to." My parents did not attend my graduation, saying, "We're proud of you, honey, but just don't let it go to your head." I was accepted to an Ivy League school. They claimed that plane tickets were too costly. Until I saw pictures from Josh's birthday vacation to Cabo that same week, I thought they were real. They simply had a stronger bond with him, I told myself. That it wasn't intimate. That they would start seeing me if I could simply be more of anything. I received my degree. I was hired. Whenever they requested money, I sent it. The mortgage on the home they occupied was paid by me. In fact, I assisted Dorothy during her divorce. Perhaps, I reasoned, charity could take the place of intimacy. Perhaps if I put enough effort into them, I would ultimately make up the difference. However, if someone has chosen not to love you, no amount of offering can change that. I finally felt it, not anger, nor even betrayal, as Bentley shored against my hip while I sat on that couch. Only a faint, sluggish realization. In their lives, I served as a stand-in. A human-sized financial strategy. And I felt like the world's most stupid person because I ever believed I could be greater. I surveyed the mess they had left behind. There is food on the counters. Soiled dishes. Boxes that are not fully packed. Even when I was returning home for the first time in a year, they seemed unconcerned about keeping the property tidy. Because I wasn't truly a guest in their eyes. The assistant was me. The accountable one. The integrated safety net. Bentley appeared thinner than I had recalled. His water bowl smells strange, and his nails were too long. He gave a small whine when I knelt down to scratch behind his ears, as if he had been waiting weeks for someone to notice him. My head was leaning on the wall. Perhaps I was the issue after all. I could be difficult to adore. Too silent. Too weird. Too clinical. In an attempt to identify the exact moment I became invisible, I relived every interaction I had ever had with my family. Perhaps I shouldn't have gone. Perhaps my success made me conceited. Perhaps I gave up trying. Or perhaps they made no attempt at all. I formerly believed that setting limits was a sign of selfishness, because the only ones who said no were those who were unkind. That sacrifice was necessary for love, especially when it was painful. Now, though, I just feel small now. And worn out. And finished. As I got up, Bentley groaned softly. I filled his bowl with new water and offered him a treat I had discovered in the pantry. I then went to open my laptop at the kitchen table. I just knew that something had finally changed inside of me, but I had no idea what I was doing. Not broken, not detonated, simply moved. I spent a considerable amount of time looking at the search results after typing, "What to do if a family lives in your house rent-free." I wasn't sure if I would actually follow through on anything. My sense of authority was lacking. I was not feeling smart. I simply felt finished. Let them say I overreacted and was aloof. Let them express themselves as they see fit. They had it already. Bentley pressed his nose against my palm. After giving him a gentle head rub, I muttered, "If there's something wrong with me, at least I'm finally doing something about it." In one of the articles, I hit print. Slowly, as if unsure too, the paper slipped off the tray. It was a Sunday evening when they returned. I remained there. Due to a family emergency, my supervisor let me work from home. Bentley sprung out of his dog bed and gave a bark that was more startled than happy, so I knew exactly when the car pulled into the driveway. My heart was racing more than I wanted to acknowledge as I remained motionless in the corridor. It was like hearing an alarm in a once secure area. The car door slammed. Loud, familiar, reckless voices. "I told you she'd be fine," my mother said. "She loves quiet time." "She probably reorganized the pantry for fun," said Josh. More giggling, I remained motionless. Through the peephole, I observed. The first person to notice was Dorothy. She pulled once more after jiggling the handle. I pictured the gradual boil of entitlement building as her brows knotted in perplexity. "Why is the door locked?" Dad gave his key a try. "Nothing." Josh took the next step and attempted to shoulder it. I snatched Bentley up before he could become even more agitated when he barked once more, louder this time. My arm shook a little, but not because I was afraid. Another stuff. Something more subdued. Final. Then there was a knock. "Nicole, open up." The lock jammed. Bentley and I sat on the couch as I caressed his ears. One more knock. Then it was more difficult. Then the beating of fists. "Nicole, what the hell? Did you change the locks?" I didn't respond. I had. I changed the locks 3 days after they departed. I was practical, not angry, though I had plenty of emotion. The home was in disarray. Bentley had been left behind. Damage was evident in several of the rooms. Doors were not locked. Trash that is overflowing. I had every right to safeguard the house because I was the rightful owner. Before taking any action, I spoke with a lawyer. They returned with the expectation that everything would still center on them. "You can't do this, this is our house," cried Dorothy. The floodgates opened at that point. "Nicole, open this damn door right now. We trusted you with the dog and the house, and you don't get to just lock us out like some kind of..." It's not solely yours, however, it was. It has been all along. This place was intended to be transitory when I purchased it 6 years ago. A backup plan. While they were living here, I paid the mortgage until they were able to support themselves again. They never departed, for some reason. In their imaginations, the house somehow became theirs. And I turned into some kind landlord who owed them regular revenue and silence. Slowly, I got to my feet. My hands were shaking, but not in the same way. Fear wasn't the reason. Adrenaline was the cause. My decision is being followed by my body. I approached the front door but chose not to open it. I only used the closed frame to speak. I stated, "I secured the property," in a firm voice. "You left it in poor condition. Bentley was neglected. The house was unlocked." I spoke with a lawyer. Quiet. Then, loud and furious, "Dorothy. You're insane. You can't just change the locks because you feel like it." "I didn't feel like it," I answered. "I'm the legal owner, and I did what was necessary to protect my home." Josh began shouting that he was going to sue me. When Dad suggested that we skip church for my math competition, his voice soared to a level I hadn't heard since I was 15. "You ungrateful brat? After everything we've done for you." I chuckled. I didn't intend to. I was shocked by the sudden, piercing, breathless sound that came out. I said again, "Everything you've done for me? You mean the financial black hole? Free babysitting? Or did you joke about leaving me alone with arithmetic problems at the birthday party?" More shouting. I turned to leave. I informed my lawyer over the phone that they had arrived. She instructed them not to open the door and to inform them that any correspondence should henceforth be sent through her office. Josh then tried to pry open the kitchen window by going around the side. From the porch, Dorothy let out a shriek. The neighbors could hear my mom sobbing as she stood in the yard. Incredulous that the waitress had just given him the bill, my dad paced. I made a police call. I gave the deed, pictures of the house's condition, and the veterinarian's report from Bentley's examination to the authorities when they got there. The cops were composed and competent. They turned to my dad, one of them. "Sir, she owns the house. There's no lease agreement. She has every legal right to secure the property." My mother sobbed. "You're just going to let her do this to us?" According to the officer, she hasn't done anything illegal. Nobody stood up for my family, for once. Nobody made me the antagonist by twisting the narrative. There were no jokes about me or pitying glances. Just the facts. Just limits. Just hearing me out. The police suggested that they depart and allow any disagreements to be resolved through official legal procedures. My family was astonished, incensed, and embarrassed as they stood there, but they eventually departed. Their car backed out of the driveway, and I watched from the window. I was flipped off from the passenger seat by Dorothy as she turned. Josh yelled something that I was unable to hear. My mother didn't turn around. And I didn't feel like the one left behind for the first time in my life. Uncomfortably, Bentley climbed into my lap, grounding me with his weight. Whispering, "I think we're going to be okay," I said. I had always hoped that they would accept me if I simply repaired myself. That they would notice me if I put forth enough effort, smiled enough, and contributed enough. But I didn't need to be fixed. Perhaps I wasn't broken because I was the quiet one. It might have made me mine. I refrained from crying. I might, I thought, but no tears remained. Just a strong, throbbing feeling of something else: power, calm, release. I no longer felt wounded or angry, just finished. And that can be stronger than anger at times. That should be the end of it, I thought. However, when entitlement has been their love language for decades, individuals like my family don't lose quietly. After they went, I began getting emails 3 days later. My dad came last, followed by my mother and sister. Confusion gave way to anger and then to desperate manipulation. "You've embarrassed us? We don't understand why you're doing this. You're being dramatic, Nicole. This isn't like you." And lastly, Dorothy's icing on the cake. "You seriously need help." I didn't answer. I sent all of this to my lawyer. The escalation followed. Assuming I would be away, they attempted to break in once more, this time in the middle of the night. The security video captured Josh and my dad attempting to force the back door with a crowbar as the motion sensor lights turned on. Once more, the police arrived. Thanks for watching and sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next drama-filled episode. After I spent $22,000 to keep them afloat, my mom kicked me and my kids out of Christmas dinner for my sister. So, I canceled everything. "Your kids are too rowdy," she said. After I paid for her truck, her house, even her groceries. I watched my daughter cry as Grandma slammed the door on us. That was the last time I played the nice guy. Outside my aged duplex, the snow was slamming down, coating the glass as if it were angry at the world. 5 days prior to Christmas, on December 20th, I was slouched at the kitchen table with a half-flat beer in my hand and raw knuckles from battling a seized brake line on my pickup in the driveway. My children, Mark, 7, and Olivia, 9, were lying on the floor of the living room, attaching paper decorations to a flimsy $15 tree that I had negotiated for at the gas station parking lot. My breath fogged faintly in the dim light as the space heater wheezed in the corner, barely thwarting the chill that was creeping through the walls. I had just stumbled in from a 15-hour stint, dragging timber during a whiteout, my shoulders hurting from the weight, my boots leaving muddy marks beside the entrance. A pile of past-due notifications that I had been ignoring shook when my phone rang loudly on the table. The name of Mom blinked. I assumed she needed money, either for Deborah's most recent emergency or for the gravy boat. For years, I had been their cash cow. $22,000 just this year. In preparation for the shakedown, I leaned back and hit the speaker. Mom responded. Bruce, Christmas dinner is canceled for you. In a tight, icy voice that sounded like she was reprimanding a child for bringing dirt into the house. Deborah's running it, and we're keeping it tight. No space for you and the kids. Like a jackknifed rig, the words struck me hard and sharp, taking my breath away. Mark's tiny hands halted, his eyes leaping to mine, wide and hurt, as Olivia's paper star crumbled and her tape roll hit the floor with a dull thud. I snarled, "What the hell is this?" and slammed the beer down, causing the can to dent beneath my hands and the foam to drop over the chipped tabletop. "You're kicking me and my kids out of Christmas? For Deborah?" "Yeah," she replied, clipped and smug as if she were throwing out junk mail. "Her twins are sensitive. Your two are too rowdy, too rough around the edges. It's smoother without you. We'll catch up later." "Maybe." The room fell silent as the heater sputtered, and the children's looks cut through me as if I had let them down. "Too rowdy?" I asked, lurching up as I walked the little kitchen, my chair tilting back and my boots thumping on the slick floor. "I've paid $22,000 this year. Vacations, groceries, your car loan, the mortgage, Deborah's flower shop that went belly up, pocket money for her spoiled brats, every damn hotel dinner when you're too lazy to fire up the stove. And you're ditching us for her?" My voice was loud, my chest heaved, and even though it was becoming cold, I was sweating beneath my flannel. Mom let out that long, annoyed sigh that she used to dismiss me. "Don't make a mountain out of this, Bruce. It's one night. Deborah's had it tough. Her kids need calm. Yours are tough little buggers. They'll be fine." With my fist striking the bar and a chipped cup rattling in a stack of Olivia's school drawings, I shouted, "Tough little buggers? I've shelled out $22,000, years of it, so you can sip margaritas in Cancun, stock your pantry, drive your truck, while I'm scraping by on gas station sandwiches to keep my kids fed. My kids aren't tough. They're kids, Mom. And you're picking Deborah's little hellions over them?" Mark's mouth quivered and his paper snowflake tore in his hands as Olivia sank into the couch and gripped his arm. She yelled, "Watch your mouth," in a whip-crack voice. "This is family. Deborah's fragile. She deserves this. You're sturdy. You'll get by. Quit acting so damn selfish." When I heard the term selfish, years of suppressed anger flared up inside of me. Selfish? I let forth a bitter, hard chuckle that bounced off the crumbling walls. "I've paid for every ski trip, every grocery run, your car, the house, Deborah's flop. $22,000 this year, while she whines about stress and begs for more, and I'm selfish?" The cold outside mirrored the fire in my stomach as I paused by the window and gazed at my snow-buried pickup, its hood still propped up from my repair. "You always offered, Bruce. Don't spin it now," she mumbled as the line crackled. "Offered?" I whirled, my voice rattling our tree's shoddy tinsel. "I've covered every cent since Deborah tanked your savings. Hotels, gas, her twins' fancy-ass boots they trash in a month. $22,000 this year, Mom, while my kids sleep under blankets from Goodwill. But sure, I begged to do it." My sarcasm was as thick as the stains from grease on my clothes. Like a lock clicking shut, she said, "It's for Deborah," with firmness and finality. "You'll manage. Merry Christmas." She ended the call. I glared at the phone as if it had sucker punched me as the call ended with a beep. A small voice said, Olivia whispered, "Are we too loud, Daddy?" Mark sniffed and wiped his nose on his sleeve, his snowflake in tatters. I knelt down and drew them near, their tiny bodies trembling. "No, you're perfect. They're the ones messed up. We'll have our own Christmas. Way better. I swear." For them, I spoke in a steady tone, but on the inside, I was a wildfire, ready to destroy their world. Deborah is the family's golden girl, regardless of how often she mistreated the dog. She is Mom's princess and Dad's darling. While Mom sobbed into her tea and Dad shrugged, she had wasted $35,000 of their retirement buying a flower store that closed in 5 months, leaving rotting petals and bounced checks in their wake. She's finding herself. I didn't resist. I took the initiative. Paid for all of my vacations, including a cruise 2 years ago, Disney, and beach cottages. Groceries for their refrigerator, everyday expenses, Deborah's store debts, Dad's truck loan, and the home mortgage. I stealthily spent her pocket money on expensive coats and toys for her twins. When they needed a night out, they insisted on every hotel dinner. One hand, $22,000 this year. With my cracked hands, my evenings spent in the cab with the heat down to save gas, and about $33 a month direct from my trucker paychecks, Deborah shared pictures of her struggles using hashtags I funded. I ignored it. Family. Until the one night we all came up for Christmas dinner, Without any justifications, and they threw my kids and I out. The screen flickered to life as I grabbed my laptop from the untidy counter and flipped it open with a loud crack. My name was on the bank account linked to their mortgage, and I was logged in. Dad had messed up the login, and Mom had purred, "You're our rock, Bruce." There it was. This year, $22,000 was lost. $7,000 for a trip that includes lodging, gas, and park admission. $5,000 for utilities and groceries. On Dad's truck, $2,800. On the mortgage, $6,200. Along with pocket money and hotel charges, I bailed out Deborah's flower flop, which cost $1,000. My overtime. My fingers were frozen. My children live comfortably thanks to hand-me-downs. I went to the mortgage by scrolling. Due on January 1st is $1,400. My account is set up for autopay. I tapped the truck loan after selecting Cancel Autopay. $400 per month. That was also axed. The message "Payment stopped" appeared twice. Immediately following their euphoric Christmas high, they would sense it when the vehicle quit and the heat died. With a sinister smile dividing my face, I leaned back. Give the sensitive twins of Deborah a cold abode and no transportation. The snow got thicker as Christmas Eve trudged in. With paper chains from old flyers, a tree with half of its lights broken, and the kids laughing while we made cookies using dough I had stretched from a dented can of mix, the duplex was filled with our tenacious joy. I continued to grind. Tires whirling on black ice, another load through the storm, and my breath steaming in the cab as I cursed the wind. The hum of my own area, the children's talk cutting through the drone of the heater, no calls yet. I would arrive late, take off my sopping boots, and collapse on the couch while sipping coffee from a mug that was warming my dry hands. The knot in my chest would slightly lessen as I laughed as Olivia and Mark continued to show me their cookie catastrophes, such as reindeer with additional heads or stars with melted edges. My old trucking friend Logan and I went to the Roadhouse one evening. The air was heavy with noisy conversation and fry oil. Grease coated his jacket as he slid into the booth, snatching onion rings and grinning broadly. He said, "You're off, man," while he chewed loudly. "What's up? You look ready to ram something." The harshness of my coffee grounded me as I sipped it. Parents kicked me and the kids out of Christmas dinner for Deborah. After $22,000 this year, vacations, groceries, mortgage, her flower bust, her twins crap, hotel dinners? Said my kids are too rowdy. An onion ring fell to the table as his jaw fell. Number and they think you'll keep the cash flowing? I gave a harsh, sluggish nod. Not anymore. Canceled the mortgage and truck loan. They're about to get real uncomfortable. With a laugh, he slammed the table and rattled the bottle of ketchup. That's ice cold, Bruce. I'm here for it. I clinked my mug against his drink and grinned. They chose Deborah? I chose my kids. I was shielded from the knife they stuck in my back by the Roadhouse's warmth. When Christmas morning arrived, the children tore into their presents while the snow covered the world like a thick veil. $30 worth of items at the thrift store, a damaged robot for Mark, and a doll with a weird eye for Olivia. Their smiles brightened the darkness. I had thrown together our supper using a can of peas, box stuffing, and ham from the sale section. Not very fancy. Only ours. At 9 in the morning, the phone buzzed. Mother. Bruce, heat's funky? Check it. As Mark constructed a pyramid of spoons, I disregarded it and continued to slice ham. When Dad's voicemail sounded an hour later, it said, "Furnace is off, Bruce. Handle it." I didn't. Deborah's message, "You're screwing us. It's cold," was piercing. I gave Olivia a roll and smiled. Their house became quite cold, but our duplex remained warm. Their texts piled up like the drifts outside as the day stretched on. Mom's texts were frantic by noon. "Bruce, it's 55 degrees. What's happening?" Dad's voice was scratchy, and his calls were stacked. 5, 10, 12. "Pay it, Bruce. This ain't a joke. Deborah was poisoned. My twins are shivering, you prick." Mom's message rang through as I was on the floor playing Go Fish with the kids, Olivia laughing as she nabbed my cards. "Bruce, it's dropping. Deborah's kids are bawling. Fix it." Their panic was a slight buzz against our small bubble as I dealt a fresh hand with a sly smile. Both the truck loan and the mortgage were canceled. Until after the holiday rush, the bank would not move. The timing was shocking. The storm intensified on Christmas night, with the wind roaring like it was thirsty. With 20 calls from Mom, 15 from Dad, and exploding texts, my phone seemed like a battlefield. Mother. Bruce, it's 45 degrees. Help us. Father. Turn it on. Now. Debbie. You ruined Christmas. My kids are sick. The sizzle was loud as I fried ham scraps for sliders in the kitchen, imagining their mayhem, Deborah wrapping the twins in blankets I had purchased, Dad pacing by the dead furnace, and Mom worrying over a chili roast. They were all shivering in the darkness. 45 degrees. Cold. However, the cold freeze was getting closer. I gave them to Olivia and Mark after sliding the sliders onto plates. We sat on the couch with a scratched DVD of Elf, laughing at Buddy's antics as their cries went unanswered, their chatter drowning out the buzz. The morning of December 26th was harsh. I shoveled the walk in waist-deep snow, my breath billowing in clouds, the cold piercing my coat. My phone buzzed when the kids were rolling snowballs out back and their squeals reverberated. Mother. Bruce, it's 40 degrees. Deborah's losing it. Dad growled in his voicemail. You're killing us. Fix it. Deborah says. This is hell. My twins can't breathe. I flung the snow away, smiling as Mark threw a snowball at Olivia, picturing their home with the windows covered in ice, the breath misting, and Deborah's delicate twins complaining beneath heaps of clothing. The doorbell rang loudly and frantically that night as I was using a hammer to mend a hole in the drywall. I cleaned my hands and took a quick look. Dad. His cheeks was flushed and his eyes were burning in the porch light as snow formed a crust on his parka. He glared and panted heavily as I leaned on the frame and cracked the door, letting warm air flood out. Bruce, he said. The heat's been off 2 days. Truck's dead. You did this, didn't you? We're freezing. Still feeling the sting of Christmas, I crossed my arms. You kicked me and my kids out of dinner. Called them too rowdy. After 22 grand, vacations, bills, your mortgage, Deborah's flop, I figured you didn't need me. His mouth fell open, then tightened as rage erupted. It was one night. Deborah's fragile. Her twins are coughing, Mom's a wreck. Calm but icy, I walked forward and interrupted him. One night. $22,000 this year, years of it, for trips, groceries, your truck, while Deborah plays martyr. You picked her. Now you're cold and stuck. Call the bank. Or Deborah. His voice broke as he flailed, sending snow flying. We can't. It's 35 degrees, Bruce. Truck's repossessed. The duplex warmth taunted him, but I didn't flinch. Not my mess. Happy holidays. With the lock clicking, I closed the door. He stomped away, his yells fading. My phone came to life. Mother. Bruce, we're dying. Help. Deborah. My kids. You're evil. Fix it. Now, said Dad. I shut it off, striking the slick drywall while their chaos echoed in the distance. The 2nd of January arrived as chilly as a steel trap. The snow is still deep. My cousin Fred, who was laughing so hard that he wheezed, yelled out to me while I was outside cutting logs for a fire pit with the axe cracking sharp. Bruce, they're a train wreck. Deborah's posting sob stories. Worst Christmas. Mom's begging neighbors for heaters. Dad's truck got towed. What did you do? The snow crunched as I leaned on the axe. Canceled the mortgage and truck loan after they ditched me and the kids for Deborah. $22,000 this year. Done. Fred gave a hoot. That's savage. House hit 30 degrees. Deborah's twins are sick. Dad's stranded. As I stacked wood, I grinned. Let 'em freeze. He revealed more. Deborah's idyllic life is falling apart. Hacking by her twins. Dad and Mom fumbling for money. When he said, they're toast. You're the king, Bruce. The snow stopped on January 4th, but their anxiety increased. My phone buzzed as Logan and I were enjoying coffee at the Roadhouse. Debbie. My twins are in the clinic, you bastard. Mama. Bruce, it's unbearable. Help. Father. Truck's gone. Fix this. Grease pouring, I bit into a burger and ignored it. Logan smiled. Still crying? I gave a nod. Yeah. House is ice. Truck's history. They're feeling it. He slapped the table in laughter. Good. They earned every shiver. The twist then came like a bomb. I was at home on January 7th, repairing a radiator that was leaking. The doorbell rang sharply and urgently while the children were at school. I took it open. Deborah. Without a coat, her hair disheveled, shivering, and her typical swagger gone. Bruce, she croaked in a shaky voice, I must tell you the truth. With a radiator wrench in hand, I cautiously leaned on the frame. Spill it. The snow melted into her sweatshirt as she embraced herself. Mom and Dad, they've been lying. The flower shop? I didn't blow the money, they did. running a scam, forging checks, skimming cash from some shady loan shark to fund their lifestyle. They pinned it on me. Said it would destroy them if it got out. I played along because they promised me half the house when they cashed out. The wrench slipped and clanged on the floor as my stomach wrenched. You're me. No, she murmured, her face ice cold with tears. They've been milking you. $22,000 this year. More before. To cover their tracks. Pay off debts. Keep the scam quiet. I took the blame because they swore they'd make it right. But now it's falling apart. Twins are sick. I'm broke. The shark circling them. The wind whipped her hair as she choked. I'm sorry. I didn't know they'd cut you and the kids like this. With the radiator hissing behind me, I gazed as my thoughts raced through every dollar I had bled, every hazy justification, and every emergency withdrawal. $22,000 this year, years of it, for their scam. And you let me carry it. She shrank and nodded. I was scared. They threatened to ditch me too. But it's over. I'm out. You needed to know. I let out a blast of steam and clenched my hand. You're all parasites. I canceled the mortgage. The truck. They're done. Tell them I know. And tell the shark while you're at it. Get lost. She recoiled and took a step back. Bruce, Her shadow vanished into the snow as I slammed the door and the lock snapped. Fred called 3 days later, his voice bursting with excitement. Bro, it's a goddamn meltdown. Deborah spilled it online. Forged checks, loan shark crap. Families livid, banks foreclosing, trucks gone, some thugs were sniffing around their place. They're finished. I smiled as I stirred soup on the stove and heard the children laughing as they constructed a Lego fort in the living room. They get it now? He gave a snort. Hell no. Mom's guilting everyone. Dad's selling junk. Deborah's twins are in a clinic. You nuked them. Steam rose as I ladled soup into bowls. They nuked themselves. I just pulled the pin. January 12th. Their world was a burnt shambles, while mine remained solid, as the snow grew thinner. My phone chimed when I was at the neighborhood rink, watching Olivia and Mark skate, their shaky spins illuminating the ice. Mother. Bruce, we're losing everything. Help. Father. You've ruined us. Fix it. Deborah. I apologize, but my children are worse. As Mark took a shaky lap and pictured their house, pipes busted, walls frosted, Deborah's delicate twins wheezing in a rental trailer, I ignored it and cheered. The kids were pleading for more cheese as I was frying burgers in the kitchen that evening when the doorbell rang. I took a quick look. Dad. Squatting. Dusted with snow. His face was a mask of defeat, and he held a trembling pawn ticket. With burger smoke curling out, I cracked the door. What? Bruce. He said in a weak voice. We screwed up. The scam, forging checks, borrowing from a shark, it got out of hand. We hid it behind Deborah, drained you to keep it quiet. House is gone. Truck's gone. He's coming for us. Help us. He seemed like a stranger pleading with forlorn eyes. Christmas stinging me, I slumped on the frame. $22,000 this year, years of it, for your scam, not her shop. You kicked me and my kids out, called them too rowdy. I'm done bailing you. He begged, shaking his head. We're sorry. Deborah's out. We're broke. He'll break our legs. I interrupted him. You had me. Now you've got a shark. Good luck. His fist pounded once and then faded as I closed the door. I dished the sizzling burgers for Olivia and Mark. As February arrived, the snow melted. The family views their lies as a festering sore. Fred called, giggling uncontrollably, as I brought the children to the park, where their sleds were making new tracks. Bruce, they're done. House foreclosed. Dad's pawning tools. Mom's begging cousins. Deborah's twins in some free clinic. Sharks circling. You expose them? I smiled as I pushed Mark's sled as his squeal echoed. They figure it out? He laughed. Nope, still blaming the world. You're free, man. That night, when the kids roasted marshmallows and the flames rose high, I hung up and lit a fire pit. Their fraud can drown them, I would protect and keep my children warm.